Well, good morning and welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder, and this is BRN AM for Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. And here are our top stories: how 5G could usher in FinTech 2.0, and Amazon makes India the core of its next FinTech push. Well, joining me now to discuss this and more is Daniel Klein. He's Senior Technology and Consumer Products Reporter with The Motley Fool. Dan, welcome back to the program. Great to see you again. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, hey there, Jeff. Thanks for having me back.
It's great to talk with you as always. So let's jump right in, and I want to talk about 5G because 5G is going to be supposedly ushering in FinTech 2.0. But first, what's 5G, Dan?
So 5G, which is often hyped, and perhaps we're partly to blame for this at Motley Fool. It's in some of our marketing, but 5G is really just the next generation of internet. And what does that mean? At its full promise, and I say at its full promise because all the wireless carriers are rolling out, we have 5G. They don't really. But at its full promise, 5G will be much, much faster internet. So what's that going to mean? It's going to mean that the experience on your phone or your iPad will be very much like the experience of being on good Wi-Fi right now. It brings up the possibility that some people, younger people mostly, who are used to watching television on their phone and iPad, may eventually not have a wired home internet connection. They may power their computer by the hotspot on their phone. This could be a seismic shift in how people use the internet. Just to put it in a very mild way, it's going to make Netflix work really well on your phone. But that's not the FinTech promise of this. The FinTech promise of this is all the things that happen in the background when you do a financial transaction, they're going to happen that much faster. And that unlocks a lot of power.
Yeah, so I mean, I think you really just are describing something really interesting, is that a lot of people will not even have a live or a wired connection in their home, right? It was just 2 years ago that we were talking about cutting the cord. I mean, on the network, you and I were talking about this on the podcast, cutting the cord, people just going to like a Google Fiber or a Verizon internet. Now we're actually talking about people decoupling themselves completely, relying on the cellular or wireless service that you get from your carrier. Does that equate to a major shift from, Xfinity, Comcast, Spectrum, and other carriers?
So it might eventually. It's not going to right away. Where it's going to impact is on the fringes. So think maybe the college kid who doesn't have a lot of money, who's living off campus, who has really good 5G connectivity. He might say, you know what, I'm not going to spend the extra $60 to have Wi-Fi in my house, to have a router and a modem and all of those things. I'm just going to connect to my phone. And is that going to be a great internet experience on the computer? It probably won't be. It'll probably be like a good experience in a hotel where it's good enough. And on your phone, it might be tremendous because 5G phones will be optimized to using it as opposed to connecting with your phone as the hotspot to a third device. That said, eventually, when it's absolutely at its peak, it is possible that especially the younger generations, as they start to form their own households, may consider not having internet connectivity in the traditional way. That being said, I also think there's technology that might stop that from happening. If your whole home is a smart home, you probably don't want that powered by a device that leaves with you. You probably still want an internet connection. So is this going to be a negative for your Comcast and your Charters? It might be a small negative, but the market is growing so quickly. I think this could be a winner for everyone involved.
And when you're talking about the FinTech implications, obviously faster bandwidth, more transactions happening, data being passed through behind the scenes, you're seeing faster digital transactions, Dan. What does this mean for business, meaning what work you and I do and other people are doing for, work? We're going to be working remotely. I think a lot of people are going to be working remotely. But what does this all mean in terms of that?
So when you go to a grocery store and you put your card in and it's like an unpleasant experience that takes like 45 seconds to process? Maybe that'll take 2 seconds. Maybe that'll be instantaneous. I think it's going to be gaining by inches, and some of the things that will happen, like think right now when you make a deposit. You make a deposit into your bank account and it doesn't show up until the next day. Little things like that might be able to be verified that much faster. So it's the opposite of death by a thousand cuts. It's health by 1,000 little changes. So all these tiny little things are going to get better and faster, and all of a sudden your life is going to be more convenient, and you didn't even realize it was inconvenient in the first place.
Dan, are there any risks to having 5G? I mean, are there any risks in terms of privacy, things that people need to be even more vigilant because of the expeditious speed by which things are traveling now?
Probably not any major risks, because it's not like in most cases when you make a financial transaction, once you hit send, you've pretty much hit send. So even though there might be processing and things happening behind the screen, it doesn't really matter in terms of if you wanted to change that or rectify it. It's very much like putting an envelope in the mailbox. Once it's in there, it doesn't matter if the postman shows up 3 days later, it's in there. There's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Clearly, it's going to help a lot of those new startup fintech companies that are nibbling around the data edge. It's going to help people do things faster. Is that a good thing? Look, I think it is overall, but Dan, is it a good thing in terms of balancing your budget and doing the more important things, having savings and being able to retire?
So let's think of some things that are pain points right now. One of the issues we have, and we've talked about this before, is payday loans. Is people being short of income and then sort of borrowing it from themselves at very expensive rates, or we talked about Square doing it at more affordable rates. What if every company, not just your biggest companies, had the ability to very easily say, hey, you worked on Monday, you want to get paid Monday night for the work you did on Monday? Okay, that's easy and it's free and it doesn't create any extra work on our part. Things like that are going to be enabled by these emerging technologies, and that's going to give people more financial freedom. We've seen it with trading apps like Robinhood, and in general, there's nothing wrong with the Robinhood platform, even though some of the people using Robinhood are using it for bad reasons. But democratizing things like access to the stock market and buying fractional shares, that's going to continue. And when I say buying fractional shares, we get asked all the time, well, the stocks you recommend are too expensive. Can you give me a stock under $10? Well, buy $10 worth of Amazon as a fractional share. Don't buy a $10 stock, because it's probably not a very good stock. Look, can you find a good $10 bottle of wine? Absolutely. Are your chances of your $200 bottle of wine being good much better? Yes, they are. And all of those things, all of the tools that were sort of limited to people with money are going to be more available to everybody. And I think that can't be anything but a good thing.
Dan, I don't know if I'd be able to tell the difference between a $10 and a $200 bottle of wine particularly.
You could tell,
you could
tell the difference between a bad $10 bottle of wine and a good bottle of wine at any price. You know when a wine is a little bit yuck. And that can happen at $200 too. That happens with stocks as well. But your odds are better the more you spend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just saying for my own, I just don't have the taste buds for that. Dan, I want to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Amazon's plan for India. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms? Especially for the smaller businesses. I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
The windows on our homes, they protect us and the ones we love, but they do much more. At Renewal by Andersen, making your home more comfortable is at the center of every window we make. It's why we custom build our windows in America and install them in as little as 1 day. It's why we build our frames with exclusive FIBREX composite material that's 2 times stronger than vinyl. It's why our glass helps keep your home warmer in winter, cooler in summer, and quieter all year long. It's why we stand behind every window with a 20-year limited warranty. Why not help lower your energy costs while giving your home and family the best? Call 1-800-835-6525 to schedule a free in-home consultation. Buy one, get one at 40% off with this special offer. Plus, get special financing with no money down, no monthly payments, and no interest for 1 full year. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window. Call 1-800-835-6525 now.
Welcome back. We're talking to Dan Klein of The Motley Fool. Dan, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
What else do I have to do, Jeff?
Well, I think you have a lot to do. In fact, people should be able to check you out. They should check you out. They have to sign up, of course, on Motley Fool Live. How many hours are you doing now these days?
I'm on from 4 to 5 every day, and I pop up. I usually am on from 11 to 11:30, and sometimes it's about 2.5 hours a day. And then if you really like me, on Saturday, you can see me from 12 to 2 and 4 to 5 most days. So it is a labor of love. It is a ton of work. And if you'd like to hear us on the free side, of course, any place you have podcasts, Industry Focus is on Industry Focus Consumer Goods, our Tuesday show. You can hear me every week with Emily Flippin as well.
You can get a lot of Dan Klein, according, of course, you can get him here. So Dan, we took a couple minutes to talk about the Motley Fool, great work being done there. Let's talk about India, because Amazon is focusing a lot of its efforts on that great country. What can you tell us?
So they're focusing on Amazon Wallet, on mobile pay, and it's actually something we're really behind in the US on. So in the US, you have Apple Pay, you have Samsung Pay, you have products like Venmo and PayPal, which allow for some level of digital payment. There's Shopify checkout that some people are using, but much of the rest of the world is well advanced in terms of using their phone for banking and payment. And that's the market Amazon is targeting in India. They want you to use Amazon checkout as effectively the way you pay for things everywhere you go. And that's something they'd like to do all over the world. It's failed for them in the US. So they're focusing on markets where there's a demand for it.
And I mean, is this all predicated on people having devices? Do we know the penetration in India of, I mean, we know most people here in the US, for example, have phones, but do we know the penetration in India?
So more people have phones than have bank accounts. It's a $135 billion market within the next 4 years, according to a recent study. It's a cash-dominated economy where 190 million people don't have bank accounts. That is a big problem. We've seen this in South America, where Mercado Libre's Mercado Pago has given people, which means Mercado Pay, for those of you who don't speak Spanish, allows you to not have a bank account, but use your phone like a bank account, give you all those services, lets you digital checkout places, and it can provide services like, we were talking before, like payday loans, like microloans, it could function like a credit card. There's all sorts of ability in countries that are unbanked. Many people still have phones. I don't know the exact numbers in India, but this is a massive, massive market. Because in some countries, people are skeptical of banks. Here in the U.S., we have the FDIC, which backs our deposits up to $100,000. So you don't have to worry about your bank going out of business. That's not necessarily true globally, and that's an area where Amazon can absolutely step in. But again, they are not without competitors. There are global competitors. I mentioned Mercado Libre. There's companies all over Asia. Alibaba does this. SE, I'm forgetting the name of the company, but that's their stock symbol. SE does it in Asia. So this is a crowded market. Facebook is trying to do this with WhatsApp payment in parts of the world. This is an emerging trend, but it's absolutely a battlefield right now.
And in terms of what we were talking about in the previous segment, 5G, what are the cellular networks like, or the wireless networks? I don't even know if I should be calling them cellular. The digital networks, excuse me. What are the digital networks like in India? Do they have the capacity to handle this volume of transaction?
So here's the good news. You don't need 5G to do this. You can get by with 2G. And throughout India, you have at least 2G. And in very high-tech cities, if you're in Hyderabad, you probably have very high-quality 4G. But most of the products are tailored towards lower quality internet. So there are some countries, in the world, India not being one of them, but some of the less developed world, where Facebook is essentially the internet, where your phone has access to a slimmed down version of Facebook, and that gives you basically your window to the world. So in many cases, and India would be one of them, Amazon is going to target its offerings and its products for the available internet speeds. So it might not be as robust a product as you would see here in the US.
And Dan, I mean, what is in this really for Amazon? Is obviously there's this banking element, this Amazon wallet. I'm assuming they'll make some money on the transactions, but is the play also for the Amazon.com for people to buy, to buy more goods and services? Is that part of this?
So there's a whole bunch of plays here. Once Amazon has captured your information, then obviously you're likely to buy on Amazon. And I don't want to accuse Amazon of anything, but U.S. merchants were very hesitant to sign up for Amazon Pay when they were making a push to this, because they don't want Amazon to see what people are buying from their stores, because Amazon could then offer them those items at a cheaper price. So there might be a data play here by Amazon where they're looking to find out on an aggregate basis what people are buying, or on a sinister level, I don't know what the privacy laws are in India, they might be finding out on an exact level, and that's going to inform them what they can put in their Amazon warehouses and how they can undercut the very merchants they're doing business with. That is why U.S. companies don't want Amazon to have their payment information, and they're much more likely to go with a Venmo, which is owned by PayPal, because that's not a retailer. That is just a data play, a banking company. But Amazon is stepping into markets where this is really, really needed. And if you're a retailer and all you can take is cash, and this gives you the ability to take a type of payment that now hundreds of millions of people will have access to, you're probably going to make that deal with the proverbial devil.
And Dan, I mean, if you plant your flag there first, or relatively first, you have a chance at just gaining market share. And we've seen Amazon do that, outmaneuver its competitors in Walmart and Target and Costco and other big box stores that were not there first. I mean, is this just simply a case in this fintech world of just putting your flag down and saying, we're there, let's get moving?
Yeah, big companies are going to be slugging this out. Facebook owns WhatsApp, which has 400 million customers in India. So Amazon is not alone here. I don't know the Amazon customer base in India. You may see partnerships, and you're probably going to see what you're starting to see in the US, where checkout becomes somewhat agnostic many places, and whatever your phone has is what it's going to use, where you're going to bring up your phone and it's going to pay with your preferred method, and it's just going to become the norm. Like you can basically assume almost every retailer is going to take Visa and MasterCard, they might soon take 5 or 6 different forms of digital payment.
I mean, this is definitely, and linking back to our previous segment, I mean, this is definitely the future. The question is, how quickly does it happen? I guess listening to you talk about it, and especially, I'm not accusing anyone of any nefarious purposes, but I always come back to privacy, Dan. And I want to make sure, one, that I can pay my bills on time using these technologies, but also make sure that not everyone knows what I'm doing. And I go back to our health conversations with Apple Health and that we've had over the last year plus on this stuff. I mean, it all for me kind of falls back to privacy.
So I don't know the Indian market particularly well, but I do a show most weeks where I'm sort of the host and not the expert, with a gentleman named Ben Ra, who's an expert on China. And he pointed out to me that in China, they don't have the same expectation of privacy that Americans do. It is not weird to them that the government would have their information, that businesses would have their information. I think we can't always apply an American lens to this. Again, sure. I don't know. I have some friends in India from my time at Microsoft, but I have no idea what the privacy expectations of the country are, but they might be different than what Americans expect. And I'm sure that's something that Amazon and Facebook have local expertise on, so they don't sort of trip up some of those norms.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see it. Congratulations to Amazon for getting there, for the other companies. And clearly there's a market there, and FinTech 2.0 is going to be really exciting to watch. Dan, thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning. We look forward to having you back again very soon.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you next week.
And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest or someone you think we should talk to? Then drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the news in retirement, markets, technology, personal finance, and more, check out our newsletter, today's edition of The Morning Pulse. So until tomorrow, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take Are you being audited and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. The IRS can freeze your assets and seize your bank accounts, but you can stop these IRS actions. The Tax Doctor will work with you using our years of experience to represent your case to help you get the best resolution under the IRS guidelines. Help is here to deal with the IRS to reduce your stress. We've handled thousands of cases, so we know what we're doing. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
Call 800-224-6439.